In this video, I'm going to attempt to create a character that's immortal. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader just released, and there's a massive amount of character customization options and builds. But here's the deal. I love finding unintended gameplay strategies and creating wacky playstyles around them. So I'm here to present to you the most unfortunate type of immortality, the immortality that leaves you traumatized and broken, but you just can't die. If my plan works, I'm going to have broken ribs, severe head trauma, crippled legs and arms, and it just won't matter because my character is fueled by pain. I am super excited to try this out, and just so you know, this video is sponsored by Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. So this is a perfect video to watch even if you have no idea what this game is about, because I will be slipping in extra details along the way to make sure you know what's going on. The premise in this game is that we are playing as the Rogue Trader, who has the Emperor's endorsement to manage a merchant empire and explore the outskirts of space. But the way we become the Rogue Trader is somewhat unfortunate and sudden, and you'll see why in the prologue when I start my adventure. But before I can start my adventure, I need to create a character. So in order to make a character that is fueled by pain, I am definitely going to need to make a custom character. I'm just gonna do normal mode for right now, but don't worry, we can change it later and we will. I did one of the presets on my first playthrough. I played as Darius, and playing one of the presets is definitely the best way to get into this game because the character customization options, there are a lot of them. So until you know what's going on, it's much better to just jump in and see how everything works. Once you know how everything works, then come and make a custom character. All right, so I'm going to be making a custom character and I'm going to name him Scar. Okay, so when you make a character, there are 6 different homeworlds that you can come from, and they all have their own bonuses, and some of them have drawbacks too. So the Imperial world doesn't have any drawbacks, but all of the other ones have a drawback in some way. So you're really specializing your character for something specific. And I'm going to be specializing my character for never dying, and I'm coming from the death world. So it feels extremely appropriate. It says right here, these harsh environments result in some of the hardiest and most resilient populations in the galaxy. That's gonna be me. I start with this feature that makes it so that when my health drops too low, I get a bunch of temporary health, and also I get a bonus to dodge and armor while I'm wounded. That'll be important later. There's also this ability called Wounded Beast, which makes it so every injury I have gives me more agility and willpower, and trauma counts as 3 injuries. Next, you need to choose your origin, and there's 7 origins to choose from, and they all kind of specialize you even more into doing something specific. It turns out there was a very, very obvious choice for this one, and it is gonna be Crime Lord. The reason why is that Crime Lord has Surefire Plan. The Surefire Plan ability makes it so that I can optionally increase my dodge % chance and parry when I move. I can specialize it even further to increase the bonus by my agility bonus. Now, if you recall, I may or may not be getting a massive amount of agility the more I'm injured. Okay, you see where it's going. These next 2 things are gonna just add a little flavor to your character. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that I prevailed in a bloody shadow war against the Void Pirates of my sector. But more importantly, there is a Darkest Hour. And I feel like this one's really appropriate. I was arrested and thoroughly interrogated using creative and violent methods. Okay, so there's 4 archetypes you can choose from to start, and then as you level up, there are more options that you can go to. For this character, I am going to be playing as a warrior. Okay, so let's name my character Scar and get into this game. We start the prologue in a conversation, and just so you know, the decisions you make in this game can have an impact on the story, and I'll point that out later for you. After exploring the initial area, I got into a cutscene where the problems start. Some of the servitors malfunction and start killing the crew, which leads to a tutorial on how combat works. The combat is turn-based and on a grid, and as my character's level, I'll get access to more and more abilities that can help me become the immortal, pain-fueled monster I'm envisioning. But until then, I just have a gun that I take a few shots with and get past this first encounter so I can keep exploring. So the first combat was considered an ambush, but most of the time you get a tactical phase, which lets you set up your character's starting positions. So for this combat, I noticed 2 of my enemies are going before me, and everybody has melee weapons, so all I have to do is place my characters just out of reach and let them come to me. They don't have enough movement to actually attack, so I have a chance to kill them both without taking a hit. And as you can see, I have 2 characters now, and eventually I will recruit a full party of 6 characters to use in fights. I found a locked crate that I opened with my tech use skill, and inside was a cape that is only usable to followers of the iconoclast conviction. The cape gives me more dodge chance, which was really all I needed to convince me to not be a jerk and actually help people. So when given the chance to save some soldiers or let them die horrible burning deaths, I made sure we all got out alive and picked up my first points towards the iconoclast conviction. But that wasn't the only effect. Since I saved these soldiers now, they're actually going to show up a little bit later to help me with the boss fight in the prologue. But before that fight, here's some background on why everything is falling apart and on fire on this ship. This guy here betrayed us earlier, and I only escaped because the ship's defenses recognized me as part of the Von Valancius bloodline, which is the bloodline of the rogue traders. The current rogue trader, Theodora, who is extremely strong by the way, has been mysteriously killed in her office, and once this coup is finally stopped, I'll be the only one left to take her place as the new rogue trader. I picked up 2 more party members along the way before facing off with the prologue's boss fight, which was pretty easy since I had all the soldiers I saved earlier to help me. The boss fight to end the prologue is against this handsome warp creature, and between the soldiers we saved earlier and the power of just running up and smacking stuff with an axe, we finished the brute off with a final psychic shriek from Adira. Now this is the first level up I've had where there's a choice to be made, which means it's my first step towards creating my immortal build, and I decided to go with escape plan so I can boost my dodge and parry chance every turn. With the prologue cleared, the game opens up quite a bit and gives me a choice of where I'd like to explore next. Oh, look at that. I get to fly my little ship around in space. That's cool. All right, I guess we're gonna figure out what is on this planet. So we're going to the starport, and here is our only party members to choose from for now. Landing on the planet gave me enough experience to level up again, so I took Wounded Beast so I can start benefiting from my injuries. Adira has an ability which increases my dodge and parry chance until the end of combat, and I grabbed an extra talent that adds on weapon skill, so that'll increase my parry chance even more. And I decided to do a little test run, get a baseline of how immortal, how durable I am at this point. Okay, so I'm dead. So I am not very durable yet, but that's okay. You know, we don't have the build fully online. This was just a test to see what it looks like if I stick myself in the middle of a bunch of people, and it looks like me dead on the ground with a crippled arm. I recruited another party member who is an operative, and at first glance it doesn't really look like they have a significant way to help Scar become immortal, but later on that's actually going to change in a big way. For now though, my operative mostly just shoots people for good damage. I also recruited an officer who has the ability to massively buff my character in a variety of ways and can even give me an extra 2 action points to use during her turn. Now there is a lot of gameplay that takes place between where my character is now and leveling up until I have everything I need to become an immortal god. So I'm going to play combat clips from my training montage while I share some general background info about this game. So this game is the first CRPG in the Warhammer 40k universe, and it was developed by Owlcat Games, who also made the Pathfinder games, which you might be familiar with. And a pretty key element of the game that I've noticed is that your decisions are actually impactful, and not just in terms of decisions you make, but also character builds you create drastically change the way you approach fights. I mean, I literally tried to come up with the dumbest playstyle possible, a character that prefers to be wounded and traumatized because it just makes me stronger when I am, and I'm here to tell you that it's totally going to work. By the end of this video, my character is going to reach an absurd level of power that is dependent on being massively injured before going into the fight. And I was able to accomplish this despite knowing basically nothing about the game. I just had a goal in mind after reading a couple of abilities, and then I tried to force it into existence, and this game's character building has so many different options that it actually works. Another thing that stood out to me in terms of impact is that in one of the boss fights, my ability to quickly defeat the boss or not quickly defeat the boss actually has an impact on the story. And like at any given moment, the decisions you're making can have a huge impact on your progression through the game. So in this boss fight, we're trying to escape the planet, and the boss will stop attacking us to destroy escape shuttles instead. And there's 3 shuttles, and when I did the fight, the boss took out 1 of them. After the fight, there's 3 groups of people that need to be saved, and I only had 2 shuttles left to save them with, so I was forced to choose between 2 of the 3 groups and then leave the 3rd group to die. Now, I've only done this 1 playthrough so far, so I am only speculating, but I can imagine the replayability of this game is pretty high due to the branching choices you can make, as well as the impact on the story that happens due to actual combat encounters like this one, where if you don't take the boss out fast enough, you're going to be limited in your dialogue later on. So, as I mentioned earlier, this video is sponsored, and if you want to check it out more, there's a link for you in the pinned comment. But enough about that, because I have now shown enough training montage for my character to be ready to face their destiny and prove their immortality. My character is level 16, and I have found a large group of enemies that has a pretty powerful mini-boss in the group, so I think this is a good place to test, and I'm going to crank the difficulty up to unfair and see how it goes. All right, so attempt number 1 was without any injuries on my character, and without the increase in agility that I gained from injuries, I just didn't have a high enough dodge chance to avoid enemies' attacks, and they just whittled me down and finished me off. So this attempt was a fail. For attempt number 2, I had Adira attack me until I was maxed out on trauma and injuries, which gives me plus 65 agility and plus 65 willpower. My trauma is taking away stats from a variety of skills, agility included, but I'm still up overall. In fact, I have a dodge chance of 209% minus whatever the attacker's perception is. So unless my attacker has a perception higher than 100, which they don't, my dodge chance is maxed out. There's still a 5% chance I get hit because dodge is capped at 95%. But for that, I should have enough armor and temporary health to absorb a hit every now and then without it being an issue. Okay, so I need to move to make sure I get okay, so that just happened. Very much not immortal yet. Dang it. If I can get killed in a single hit, then having a 5% chance to get hit isn't even close to the immortal build I'm looking for. And honestly, I was getting kind of worried that the video was just going to end here with my character dead on the ground with the bad ending. But I looked ahead at what was coming up just 1 level away and decided that I was just ahead of my time, and I just needed that 1 last level, and then I want to face off the same enemy again so I'd have a fair test. I couldn't really find much more experience in this system, so I went to the world map and traveled to a different system in search of experience, and I engaged in some space combat with some pirates, and I found some more ground fights, and I finally gained the extra level I needed. Okay, so the game has updated to what I assume is the full release version, and so I redid the entire fight just to see if everything went the same way. But any differences from what you heard earlier in the video are because the game has updated. All right, I'm finally ready. I have all of my injuries: crippled leg, head trauma, crippled arm, broken ribs, old injury, and those are giving me plus 65 from Wounded Beast to my agility and to my willpower. I am losing 20 agility from my crippled leg. I'm losing strength and toughness from my broken ribs. I'm losing weapon skill, which makes it so that I have a lower chance to parry enemy attacks. And I'm losing intelligence, perception, willpower, and fellowship. So the injuries, or the traumas, are no joke. They definitely make you lose a lot of stats, but the increase to agility is going to be worth it because I'm going to be able to dodge everything, hopefully. I have a helmet that's giving me more armor. My knuckle guard is giving me some weapon skill. I can get more dodge chance for each heroic action. I'm getting even more weapon skill from my gloves. I have some toughness, and I'm getting some parry chance from my actual sword. So all in all, looking pretty good. I'm also getting a lot of bonuses from party members. So from Adira, she's going to give me plus 17% dodge and parry chance. She's going to give me more intelligence, perception, fellowship, and willpower. I get nothing from you. You are useless to me. My operative is actually like the sleeper, overpowered helper in this fight because I have this ability, Tactical Knowledge, and it removes an exploit from every enemy. And for each removed exploit, I'm getting more percent armor until the end of combat, and it stacks. Exploits just make it so that my operative can deal more damage on attacks, but their abilities also interact with exploits quite a bit. And I have this talent that makes it so that every single enemy, regardless of whether they're in line of sight or not, they get an exploit every single turn. So all of my enemies are going to have exploits. So all I need to do is use tactical knowledge, which is a huge area, by the way. I just have to use it on giant groups of enemies to start stacking my armor. My officer is giving me plus 15 to all characteristics for a round, and then half that amount is going to stay for the entire combat, as well as plus 24 to willpower and toughness. And then she can also give me extra turns and occasionally temporary health or remove status effects like burning. And I can get just a little bit more strength and toughness from Iron Arm, and then Shield of the Emperor is going to increase my armor and deflection, so it'll be very hard for anybody to deal damage to my entire party, but more specifically to Scar. Scar himself has the Vanguard level up at 16, which makes it so that all of my temporary health stacks now. And I got the defensive stance, which makes it so I get more parry chance until my next turn, and when I parry an attack, I immediately do an attack of opportunity against them. So it's both defensive and offensive. Feeling pretty confident. I think this is the one, and I think that we can do this. So I am gonna go ahead and run in and get the fight started. Hello, Ember. I know you've absolutely butchered me many times in a row, but this time is different. I cranked the game difficulty up to unfair, and then I started applying buffs to my character. I had everybody on my party use as much as they could, so I'm now immune to critical hits. I have more parry and dodge chance, more stats for perception, intelligence, willpower. I tried to get my characters out of the way. I gave myself more characteristics with Voice of the Emperor. I gave myself more toughness and willpower. I also have the ability to mark an area on the battlefield as the front line, which gives me a bonus to armor, and it also makes enemies take more damage, but that's not really as important. The bonus to armor is what I'm excited about, and I have a second ability that can increase this bonus even more. Good job. Please continue offering nothing of value whatsoever to this. We appreciate you. My enemies opened up with a fire grenade that just had no effect whatsoever. It just didn't do anything. And now I get to move and activate Surefire Plan, which is going to give me 39% dodge and parry chance until the start of my next turn. I decided to move into cover just to play it safe so I have time to get the rest of my buffs online. And for the rest of my action points, I can use Endure, which reduces the damage that I take and gives me some temporary health. And remember, all my temporary health stacks once I got the Vanguard level 16 upgrade. And then I can use Defensive Stance, which makes it so that I get more parry chance until my next turn, and I also will attack back on anybody that attacks me. So this is only round 1 of combat, and I am at 211% dodge chance. I have 95% parry chance, and my armor is actually at 71% already, and it's going to get much higher. And again, the UI looks a little different than anything you've seen in the rest of the video because the game has now updated, so they have put their finishing touches on everything, which is great because I no longer have to add up my dodge chance anymore. It just tells me what the full amount is, and I don't know if it's still capped at 95% or not. And if it's not capped anymore, then I don't know how they're going to hit me with anything, because they would need over 100 perception or some other way of reducing my dodge chance in order to even get a hit on. My enemies throw another fire grenade at me, and like honestly, they have really miscalculated with these fire grenades because they're taking way more damage than me. I did take a tiny amount of fire damage, but they try and flamethrower me and I dodge it. Anything that they shoot at me, they just can't hit me because my dodge chance is too high, and whatever fire damage I might take is absorbed by my temporary health. And we're not even done with round 1. I still have a couple more buffs to put on that are going to increase my strength and toughness, as well as increase my resolve. My resolve is negative right now, which makes it so I'm not able to benefit from Shield of the Emperor as much, since it multiplies 2 times my resolve to give me more armor. But eventually my resolve will get positive because this resolve ability stacks. So the longer I'm in combat, the more this is going to increase my armor. So they keep trying to shoot me, but they can't hit me. And on my turn, I just reactivate all of my abilities to give myself temporary health, damage resistance, dodge and parry chance. And really, we're just waiting now to see if the boss is able to do anything, because it's obvious that his henchmen can't. So after dodging a few more attacks, Ember starts making his way up, and he's not close enough yet, but next turn he's going to get his chance to make his first swing on me. But now that everybody is grouped up so tightly, it's time for me to have my operatives start using tactical knowledge, because because all of them have exploits on them, and I will remove one exploit from each of them in order to gain armor for my entire party. And again, it stacks. So right now I'm getting plus 16% from it, but I can use this ability every turn. I decided to have Adira use sensory deprivation to blind Ember because I just didn't want to risk having anything go wrong on that first swing that he takes. I'm pretty sure that I was already immortal at this point and that it didn't matter, but I figured I might as well blind him, and I reduced his weapon skill down to 15. So his chance to hit me is already going to be completely tanked. My ability to parry his melee attacks is going to be massively stacked in my favor. And then again, even if he does hit me, my armor is so high that it probably won't matter, and he can't get a critical strike on me. I'm immune to the first one that hits. Now that everyone's grouped up, it's time to go on the offensive. So I had Cassia give me an extra 2 action points on her turn so I could do a massive cleave and just swing at all these guys grouped up around me. And then on my turn, I can still use my action points to give myself all of my defensive stats that I need to just be totally topped off and completely immune to anything that they could possibly do. All of the enemies here are using guns, so they started trying to walk away from me in order to take shots, I guess, and they were just taking opportunity attacks and just slowly dying. Okay, it's Ember's turn, so this is the moment of truth to make sure that okay, parry. Yes, that makes sense, and we return the damage to him because of defensive stance. Beautiful. I don't know why they're all running away and then coming back to shoot at me. They're just taking opportunity attacks for no reason, but again, it's not like it matters. My armor is going to keep stacking up higher and higher throughout the fight. I am a little bit lower than when I first started because some of the buffs that I have are coming in and out, and I can't have them at all times, but tactical knowledge stays on all the time, and it is now up to plus 30%, 83% armor. I just need to use it 1 or 2 more times and I will be over 100%. I have also now increased my resolve enough times so that Shield of the Emperor is actually giving me pretty good armor. My resolve is up to 0. Amazing. But we are getting 10% more armor from that. Since I've gotten pushed back a little bit, I moved the front line just a step back so that I wouldn't accidentally get forced out of that, because they keep making me dodge their flamethrower attacks by, running to a different square. But I can just move the front line anytime I need to and then just buff it up so that it does more. And look, they are just running away, and they actually stopped trying to attack me, it looked like, and I thought maybe that this was just them admitting defeat and realizing that they can't possibly do anything to hurt me. But they did come back to attacking me, so I don't know. Either way, they're not doing any damage to me. They cannot hit me. And Ember is no exception. He can't hit me. I can parry everything that he throws at me. I can dodge everything. And my armor is very, very close to getting above 100%, which will basically mean they can't do anything at all. You can see here my armor is up to 90% now. And after boosting my resolve again and giving myself Shield of the Emperor again, I finally did it and I got my armor up to 104%. But am I actually immortal? Well, depends on how you look at it. My enemies can't hit me, and even if they do, they can't damage me because my armor is so high. That sounds immortal to me, but there's also abilities in this game that deal direct damage, as well as abilities that reduce a character's dodge chance, parry chance, and armor. Not to mention, it took me until the end of round 4 in combat to finish boosting all my stats to this level, although I'm sure I could make it faster by optimizing a bit more. The real takeaway for me is that there's such a massive amount of character build options that you can truly adopt the playstyle you want, and the possibilities are endless. If you want to make a character that suffers from crippled arms and legs, severe head trauma, bad thumbs, itchy earlobes, and a cracked rib, then by all means go for it. If a fully injured character can become immortal on the hardest difficulty and not just survive but actually thrive in combat, then there's truly nothing stopping you from trying out any wacky build you want. So if that's what you're into, go ahead and check out the link in the pinned comment to buy the game, and thank you so much for watching.